Hey everyone, Usman here, back with another video. I am going to be doing my review for Marvel Studios' Moon Knight. By this time I'm recording this video, Moon Knight has been out for probably, I think, a month or so, roughly. Like, it's been a while. I've seen the show, I think, roughly twice, because I've seen the show one time alone by myself, like, weekly when the episodes were releasing, and then I saw it a second time with somebody else. So, essentially, yeah, I'm going to be basically doing my review for Moon Knight, and it's going to be fun, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. As usual, before I do any reviews of any kind, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment, all that fun stuff, letting me know all about Moon Knight himself. I did a review, I think, for the Moon Knight trailer, months ago, like when they officially released it. I think probably back in January or something, they released the trailer for it and talked about it and sort of gave like a little brief explainer on the character of Moon Knight. So I don't know, if anything, I'll put a link down below in the description. I usually have just been making these videos like all about reviews now on this channel. It's not always what this channel will be about. I'll be going back to doing like news and all this kind of stuff shortly. I just mainly had my head like focused on, reviews and stuff like that. Like those kinds of ideas about, like, again, doing the retro movies, stuff like that. All those kinds of things, like putting those out there. Like I did the Hulk 2003 movie review. That's up on my channel right now. So, again, there's a lot of content that I'm trying to deliver on, and hopefully I can upload some more stuff soon. Moon Knight's my favorite Marvel Disney Plus show that they've made. I thought Moon Knight was pretty incredible. Like, I loved pretty much everything about it in that regard. Like, I would think it's Marvel's sort of darker show, delving into the aspects of, like, the mental illness with the character having DID, dissociative identity disorder, and then just sort of the violence a little bit, just delving into that a little bit. I mean, honestly, it's not like in the level of something like Daredevil or even just the Marvel Netflix shows, but it is something that Marvel showcases, like in the MCU on Disney Plus. It's darker in that regard because they show like the brutality of something like the character of like Mark Spector and him being a mercenary. And I'll be doing spoilers as well, so this is going to be a spoiler-filled review. I mean, the show's been out for some time, and I'm sort of doing this after a while, and I'm trying to remember little bits and pieces about the show, so forgive me on that regard. There's Jake Lockley, who they introduced at the end of the series. He was a great personality. He was a personality that a lot of people were wondering, was he going to be in the show? They kept on teasing him from episode 3 and on, so when they finally introduced him, they brought him on, it seemed like he was like, yeah, he was the main sort of personality that seemed like the most violent, aside from like, Mark Spector, who's the main one. The showing that was pretty much what they did, like the aftermath of the different personalities and, Mark sort of, blanking out and everything. That was an interesting take on the character. Stephen Grant is like the main character, the main personality that they showcase in the show. So he's like a little bit more lighthearted. He's like, oh, what's going on? Like all that kind of stuff. He doesn't really know what's going on. And then essentially at the end of the first episode, he kind of talks with Mark Spector in the mirror, the main sort of guy who has the personality. And they delve into that. The acting, mainly, from Oscar Isaac, the aspects of that, I find that to be incredible because I think his acting is phenomenal in the show, the way that he's interacting with himself through the mirror and everything. But also at the same time, it just showcases like, reliability, I guess, on the personalities really is what it showcases as well, which is fascinating. With Moon Knight himself, like the, with him in the costume, like they don't really showcase a lot in the show. I mean, they have it a little bit in some episodes. Obviously, at the end of episode 1, at the end of episode 2, quite a bit, and then some of episode 3. I think episode 4 and 5 are probably, except for one part, were like really the parts where they didn't like have him in the suit. But then in episode 6, they did that because it's the finale, so they wanted to have like something a little bit more action-packed. But the show still delivered on the action and everything like that with Moon Knight and showing him, and even Mr. Knight as well. So I think they delivered in that regard. But like they didn't want to make the show like too action heavy. They wanted to make it more of a character study, and I think they did well on that. Specifically episode 5. Episode 5 is the one episode which went more into the backstory of Moon Knight, Mark Spector, and how he became, Moon Knight himself, as well as how he developed the multiple personalities. And I found that to be a very powerful episode. It gave us like more backstory, and I think it delivered really, really well, and it got me very invested into the characters. So, emotionally, I was like, oh, I like this. I like this a lot. Yeah, and I just love the one thing where Khonshu is like, that one scene where he's like, they showcase like, where Mark's about to kill himself because of what happened to him. And then all of a sudden, Khonshu's like, I can do this for you. I want you to be my Moon Knight. I always thought the way Khonshu delivered it, like that line was so crazy. Like crazy as in like it was so powerful. And I think even like, was it Arthur Harrow? Ethan Hawke is the actor who plays Arthur Harrow. He's a character that is like essentially like a cult leader. So they delve into different sort of Egyptology and all these different things, all these things going on. And they showcase like, Arthur Harrow, and he's the character that essentially wants to bring back like this alligator goddess or something to take the souls of everyone and punish them, I guess. There's a big, battle at the end of the series, obviously. Essentially, the 6th episode was kind of like, with the finale, it was shorter, but they had to tie up everything completely within whatever they had. And I actually like the 6th episode. I know a lot of people don't don't really like the final episodes of these Marvel series because they always think that they just wrap up like this and they don't finish anything. Like, it's like, okay, why they finish it so quickly? It's like, what's going on? But finales so far, I think they're fine. I guess I kind of agree at some point that I'm like, yeah, it is kind of like, why can't I just make another episode and sort of tie this up a little bit more coherently? But at the same time, I'm like, it doesn't bother me that much because I'm like, you know what? It just finishes it up rather than, sort of also letting it go on even more. The finale's cool though. Jake Lockley was a character again teased, and I just thought that was kind of nice, just seeing that personality come up. Out of the personalities I saw, I think I like Steven's personality more because, again, he's trying to learn everything and he's just kind of like, oh, he's more relatable in that regard and what's going on. Mark is a mercenary. He's a killer. He's not exactly like someone that you're like, oh, there's a lot of baggage with him, certainly. And with the 5th episode, I think the 5th episode is my favorite because it delves into, like I said, his backstory, but at the same time, it sort of delves into the backstory of, like, yes, as I mentioned with the Hulk's movie, where it delves into the childhood of Mark and, all of that sort of darker sort of subject matter that they delve into. It's just intense, but sad. As I mentioned all the time with these things, the score is actually really cool. They put, like, the Egyptian sort of twist on it, too. His wife, she is actually good in the show, and she's a small part. First she's like, oh, you're probably faking this, and then she eventually realizes that he has, like, DID, or he has another personality. So it's kind of interesting to see how she interacts with the other personalities and how he changes, like, on a dime. Khonshu, he's voiced by an actor, I think his name is F. Murray Abraham. Khonshu, I think his voice is perfect. I would say two things. I would say that Khonshu and then the personality of Stephen Grant are the two comedic parts of the show. A lot of the show kind of is, it's a little bit more darker, a little bit more serious, but I think Stephen Grant, the personality, and then Khonshu are basically the two sort of comedic sort of aspects of the show. And you could take that as a good thing or a bad thing. Some people don't really like that about the MCU. I thought that was fine. It gave it, as I mentioned, like, a little bit of levity, not something that ruined anything for me. Stephen Grant, he's like our like relatable type of avatar or character in the show. Khonshu is they just show him like just being a complete, so I don't know, it's fine with me. The costumes I think look really cool. Mr. Knight's costume, like, specifically for that, is just so cool, and the way and the design for that's awesome. Khonshu fighting Amit was interesting. It was like two giants. Honestly, I was more invested in the fight between Scarlet Scarab, Moon Knight's wife, and then Moon Knight, and then Harrow. But yeah, there was that cool scene like in the final episode, where Mr. Knight was fighting. He was like, there's a post-credit scene at the end of the show. Jake Lockley, I basically spoiled it. Shoots Arthur Harrow. Moon Knight's like, we're going to make a promise that you don't interfere with my life anymore, and you're just done using me as your avatar. Khonshu still continues to use him. It's not like super, oh my gosh, it's, but it's still really, really solid, and it really is great, and it's my favorite Disney Plus show that they made. It's different. Different for me works, and that's what I really love. It doesn't have to be straight up like, oh, I need to save the world and stuff like that, or save the universe. I mean, they could still do that, and I'll still watch it because it's Marvel. It's Marvel, anything, I'll be able to watch it. But giving the character more complexity, just sort of adding that to it and adding that to it, just makes it so much more compelling and fascinating. So that's really what I truly enjoy about that. I don't know. If I were to give the show a rating, let's see. Probably give it like a 9 out of 10. Maybe a couple flaws. I guess maybe just a little bit if it was a little bit more darker. A little bit, I guess. Not because it's like, oh, I need to fulfill. It's like, no, just maybe just to, I guess, hone in on that. Maybe. But also just like, the CG sometimes maybe a little bit. But even the CG is not too much of a bother. Especially when he's fighting that jackal in one of the other episodes. Like in episodes 1 and 2, like you see that, whatever. Oh, that scene though, at the end of episode 1 where he's like beating the jackal up in the bathroom. That was awesome. That was a cool scene. And then his score plays. So that's my review for Marvel Studios' Moon Knight. Don't forget to check it out. Just stay tuned for all my other videos that'll be coming up because they will be coming up soon. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will definitely see you next time.